Hi, I'm Cameron, and welcome to Tea with Toby, the show where we ask and answer the questions playing in the minds of the care sector's business leaders. This week's episode is sponsored by the Access Group, and we're going to kick off the show with a few words from our very own marketing strategy director, Toby Ali Usman.
Thanks, Cameron. So today's guest has actually been on the show before, and he doesn't know it, but that show has had the most streams on Spotify, the most LinkedIn views, and also the most YouTube views. And our community don't use YouTube that much. So there's absolutely no pressure. But on that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. Simon Crowther.
Tea with Toby, 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 tea with Toby.
Hi guys, hi there, hi Toby, hi Cameron. Thanks for having me. That's good to hear, isn't it? Yeah. Hopefully. I've received quite a few inquiries actually from that show. You know, people calling me, clients coming on board, but also people just asking questions. And yeah, it's great. It's great to know that people are out there, you know, wanting to know more about their business, how to make their business better.
And it's always great having you on the show, because similar to us here, you're not afraid to share the strategies, the techniques, and really get.
Not at all. I mean, the health and social care sector, and when I say that, as that is health and social care, including NHS and everything, is 10 times the size of defence. You know, it's 145 billion pound sector, and if you take just the home care sector alone, it's 7 billion in England. That's not Scotland, Wales, just England is 7 billion. That's home care and complex care and supported living. You know, 7 billion. That's a lot, and most of that is delivered by the independent sector. You know, so that's a big sector. So I'd rather share, because there's a lot of people out there who are really good carers who've started this business because they want to care for people. And the driver for most people getting into the care sector, to me, that I've met, seem to be twofold. And actually running a business is way off their minds. It's actually, they want a bit of freedom. They don't want to work for anybody else, and they want to deliver good care. And that seems to be the two main drivers. So you get so many people who are really great at caring, but then don't know where to go, you know, don't know where to get clients from, don't know how to start, don't know where to go. There's lots of information out there about, you know, quality compliance, and you can the CQC website and Skills for Care website and NICE and SCIE. There's loads of resources on how to deliver care, but almost nothing on how to deliver a business in care.
And we're going to get to that, because you're already jumping straight in.
Right. All right.
I've got loads of questions for you, within time, of course.
Yeah, I think it's a very important note to make as well, that you don't just have to have a care business now to watch this. Anyone can watch it. If you're thinking about one in the future, this is for everyone. So just on that note though, Simon, could you maybe tell everyone just a little bit, why do you know so much about home care? What is your background?
Well, I've had quite a diverse background. I started in social care 20 years ago. I started in the year 2000, when I got really fed up of working in corporate life. It wasn't for me. I was working as a program manager in the financial sector. I was doing international projects with banking and relocation of financial services from New York and London into Dublin. Didn't like it. Wasn't really for me. And my mother had always run care homes. That was her background. My brother, who's an accountant, he got fed up with his job. We just packed our jobs in and we started a care business. And we didn't know anything about it other than the family. We'd grown up around it, but we didn't know a lot. And I went from traveling business class and, you know, flying in from Dublin into the city and meetings at Canary Wharf, and then back to Dublin again on business class, through to going out on less than minimum wage, changing incontinence pads, doing on-call, changing catheters, doing everything. I was a care worker. We started from scratch. And then what we did do was we applied some of the techniques we'd learned from business and before I was in financial services, I was an army officer. Before that, I was an engineer. And I've applied some of those things that I've learned in kind of blue chip companies into the care sector, in terms of customizing things, in terms of training people, in terms of reports and returns. And we built that business from literally from scratch to 7 branches, about 600 staff, contracting about 10 local authorities, and we did that in 4.5 years, and then sold out completely. I left the sector. I went off run an e-commerce business selling boxing equipment and mixed martial arts equipment, completely unrelated again. And then came back into the sector with training companies. I've always had training companies as well, again in the care sector, training companies. And then I started doing bits of consultancy. I've worked for local authorities. I've helped people set up businesses. I set up training businesses. And it occurred to me that, you know, I'd learned an awful lot along this journey. So I wanted to help people and get my, you know, pay my bills by helping other people. So, but instead of helping the service users, like a care business, I now help the business owners and the registered managers, you know, and because it's not just, you know, our clients aren't just business owners, they're also registered managers, and help those guys. So I'm trying to give something back there. And also when I see a huge amount of people who are good at delivering the care, but can't even make a living for themselves because they just don't quite get the business side, is help them out, or have somebody who's got a good business, a good sized business. You know, I've got several clients who are multi-million pound businesses, but actually we can get them to 10, 20, 30 million pound businesses by applying the same techniques. You know, it's systems, reports, business planning, forecasting, all these marketing, all these kind of standard business processes and concepts that you get in every single business. You know, whether it's digital marketing business, whether it's care business, there's business concepts and helping people understand that, as well as the quality of the care. Because the whole point of this is to be able that somebody who needs care has their life changed for the better because somebody who is going to visit them to help them change their life for the better can do their job, can do it correctly, is employed by a good company and delivers the best care possible. And that's the aim, really.
And one of the things that inspired the conversation today is, obviously I called you last night and we were just talking, and then we were talking about a joint client, and then you started explaining something. And I said, look, the way you're explaining this is so simple. Let me just pause you and jump on the show and let's just continue the conversation here. So financials are really important within a company. The first question I've got for you is, can you help share more from a business that's starting from scratch, how you calculate lifetime value of a customer?
Okay, I think a lot of the time in the care sector, there's also a mentality that because you're caring, talking about the money is dirty. It's like a dirty word. And you've got to get that out of your head, because if you're not making any money, you're going to go bust, and then people are not going to get care. Simple as that. And if you're providing the best care and working a 60-hour week, but you're not even making minimum wage yourself, and your staff can't get paid, then what's the point? What's the point of doing it? So people have got to get out of the, you know, think of it. Look, it is a business, so you've got to talk about the money. And as dirty as it might seem, I mean, that's a mental thing in the care sector. Get over that, because you can't deliver good care unless you actually have got a sound organizational, and that doesn't matter whether you're a charity or a private sector. You could be a charity, but you've still got to be solvent at the end of the year, you know. So the same concepts apply whether you're not-for-profit, charity, private sector, PLC, whatever it is, you know, whatever your vehicle is, you've got to be solvent and a capable business. So you look at the client and you say, right, okay, what is that client worth to you? And before you can put any budgets in place, you have to know what a client is worth. And in home care, it's actually pretty difficult. In a care home, it's quite easy. It's the cost of the bed. If you charge X amount for a bed for a week, you know, 600 quid for a bed or whatever it is, you know that's the value of income, and you can work out your profit from there for that bed. Home care's got far more variables. It can depend on how rural the client is, how many miles you've got to go, how many hours a week do you deliver. So a live-in care package is 24 hours a day. It's going to be very different from half an hour pop-in, you know, to a rural area where you've traveled half an hour to get there in the first place. So that's quite hard. So you do have to make some assumptions, but you can make broad brush assumptions. So, like, for example, if you let's really broad brush example. Let's say you charge £20 an hour. You know, I know people have all sorts of different pay rates, but let's say 20 quid, and your client care package is 10 hours a week. You know, so it could be 20 hours a week, could be 5, but let's just go for 10. So £20 an hour, 10 hours. That's 200 quid a week. That's the income you're going to get from that client, £200 a week. So what's that in a year? Times that by 52, 10,400. So that client is going to bring income of 10,400 into your business. So how long are you going to have that client? Now you don't know. You could have that client 1 year, you could have that client 10 years. You have no idea. So you've got to put something. You've got to say something. So let's just go with a planning figure of 3 years. So that client is worth to you income 10,400, which we worked out for 1 year, times by 3, 31,200. So that one client might give to you over a lifetime income of 31,200. But then you have to say, okay, what part of that is actual profit? Now let's just keep it really simple and say you make 10% profit. That's quite high for care, obviously. For some care, if you're doing local authority work, it could be as little as 3 or 4%. But we'll just go for 10 because mental arithmetic for me is a little bit easier. So we've worked out your total income is 31,200. You make 10% profit.
Unfortunately, Simon is inaudible, but he's saying 10% is 3,120, and that is the value of a customer.
So that you now have what that client, getting a client into your business. Now you can say to yourself, what am I prepared to pay in order to get that client? So if I said to you, for example, Toby, if I give you 500, if you give me 500 quid, and I give you 3,100 back, do you think that's a pretty good deal? And you go, yeah, of course it is. I'll bite your arm off, Yet people in the care sector don't, because they haven't thought about what the client is worth to them. Therefore, they don't know what to spend on the marketing. So in fact, if you spend £500 acquisition costs, if that client costs you £500 to get it in, you've ended up, what's that? How much is that you've made? 500 acquisition, £500 minus, take that off 3,120. That's what your profit is. You've got that back. That's a really broad brush way of doing it, but people don't even do that first calculation. So you've got to do that in order to find out, to say, okay, well, that's one client. What if I got 10 clients? Well, that's worth 31,200. So with 10 clients in like that, I might pay out £500 per client. So let's say £5,000 for 10 clients. So I'll pay £5,000 out, but I'll get back 31,200. And that's how you need to work out your marketing. Very, very, that's pretty unsophisticated, but it's the first step. It's from that you've got an idea of, okay, right, if I pay out £5,000, I'll get 31,000 back, or I'll get 10 clients back, however you want to look at it. So that's your budget. Now, the actual acquisition cost might vary. We're starting this as a budget. It might be that your marketing might work really well and you've budgeted 500, but you've only spent £300 per client, because you might spend £5,000, but instead of getting 10 in, you might get 20 in. So suddenly your client acquisition cost is £250, not 500. Or actually it might be quite expensive. You might be in an expensive area of the country where things cost a little bit more and you don't get 10 clients in, you get 5 clients in which case your client acquisition cost is £1,000, but you're still making money. You're making less, but you're still making the money. You're still paying out that money to get the clients back in. And that is how you do it. And you base that on the budget, and different people can afford different amounts. I've just put £500 out of thin air. It could be 1,000, it could be 2,000, it could be 10,000, depending on the size of your business and how much money you've got. But the fact is, I come across an awful lot of clients who, when I first set up in the care business, you literally set it up, gave the local authority a telephone number, and the phone rang and you got clients. That's gone. That doesn't happen. You've got to get on preferred provider list. You've got to do tenders. Some of them are open, some of them are closed. Local authority pay rates are not always that good, so you do need a mix between local authority and private. And if you're going for the private market, you've got to market yourself like any other business. I have to market myself. Why am I here talking to you? Partly out of the good of my heart, but also I'm trying to convince people that I know what I'm doing so that they'll give me a ring and pay me to do work for them. I am marketing. That's what this is. This is marketing. So everybody's got, sorry?
I think that there's a little glitch there, but I think it's really useful because there's a number of businesses who are starting from scratch and who, they want to get clients and they reach out to us, but they don't grasp that the structure on how you budget and how you have to look at things. So that's really useful. Staying on the sort of subject of people who are just starting out, how do you go about figuring out if you had the whole of the UK, where to target in terms of setting up your home care business?
Right. Well, home care is hyper local. Yeah, it is absolutely in your area, and I tend to go off population. Chimney pots, basically. You're a people business. You need to employ people to deliver the care, and you need people who are your clients. Therefore, you need to be in a populous area. And when I say in a populous area, that doesn't mean you can only operate in urban areas. Of course, you can operate in rural areas, but the rural area is just going to be bigger than a tighter urban area. That's all. So you can go off population numbers. So let's say, for example, I years ago I did some work. I've not done this recently, but a way back I did some work, and I analysed some of the numbers. And to me, it came up with, okay, I think I can make a branch of home care to get to 1,000 hours in about a population size of 200,000. That's what it came out about. And I used to base it on that. And that actually worked out about well in the areas that I was working in, the towns, etc. I was working in. And even it just meant that if I was in somewhere like a suburb of Manchester, that's basically one of the, that would be Salford, or it would be Bolton, or it would be one of the suburbs of Greater Manchester conurbation. If I'm up in the rural Lancashire, it's just a geographically much wider area to get that same number of people. So once you've got that number of people, you then want to target a bit closer and say, right, okay, if I'm going to spend this, I've worked out my marketing budget. If my marketing budget is £5,000, for example, that's going to get me 10 new clients, I might spread that over 3 months or 4 months or 5 months. I might spend £1,000 every 5 months, in which case I want 2 clients in a month. And you'll say, right, okay, well, some of the areas I need to focus on more than others. So you need to then start looking at what are the key population areas within the whole area you work in. What's more likely to be the area? There's no point targeting a brand new estate that's full of families. They're not going to have many elderly clients in there. It might be great for your recruitment, but not necessarily for your target. So you might want to look at things like, you can get on the Office of National Statistics and look at things like, you can actually look at local authority areas by ward, by council ward, and actually then start looking at those areas by how many people are over 65, how many people are over 80. This is all free information that's out there, and that'll give you really tight areas that you can concentrate on. So you can take that budget and you can do things like flyer drops, you can do networking, you can do your pay-per-click advertising. So it means that somebody could come to you for pay-per-click and say, okay, Toby, my entire budget is £5,000. I've decided that I'm going to spend £3,000 on pay-per-click, and I'm going to spend £2,000 on other marketing areas. This is now the area that I want to focus on. Can you do something for me for pay-per-click just for this area? And then you do that, whereas they go away and at the same time, they're doing their networking, they're doing business networking, they're going out talking to the shops in their community, they're doing community talks to community groups, they're doing flyer drops, they're doing all sorts of other offline marketing. And because it's targeted in those areas, and because they've got a budget, they're expecting to get that in, and they will. You will get inquiries. Simple as that. You will get the inquiries coming in. Whether you turn those inquiries into clients, that's another, that's a whole another topic, where you turn from marketing into sales. Then you've got to sell your services once people know about you. But the biggest mistake I see people make is they set up an agency, and then they just expect people to come to them, but nobody knows they exist. Nobody knows.
And what you were talking there about sort of being omnipresent is so important. So let's say you do identify, this is the whole area we're targeting, but these specific postcodes or radiuses, we're going to be omnipresent there. We're going to be doing the leafleting. On the PPC, we can dial it up in those particular areas. And it may be that it's not just one channel of marketing is the result of getting someone to inquire. It could be that they originally saw the click, came through the website for the click. They had a chat with their spouse. Then a leaflet came through the door, and then they saw a poster in, their GP, and then they thought, that company again. And it just gives you that sort of confidence to know that, okay, this is definitely a company that people must know of because I've seen them 3 times in a short period of time.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
that makes a huge difference. But I'm just conscious of the time. I just want to shift gears a little bit and talk more to the more advanced care businesses. Now, last time you came on the show, we talked about building a care business ready for sale.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to talk about is, what if a home care business wanted to acquire another home care business? What are some of the things that they should be looking for the right?
I've been asked, funnily enough, and this isn't set up actually, this is not some pre-set up between us two before this. I've actually been asked this week, so you didn't know that. So it's
that's why I asked it. Some people have asked him.
Yeah, I've been asked it as well this week, and it's like, if you don't, buying a business is a whole issue in its own right. It's difficult and it's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. You can end up buying, I've done it. I've made a complete mistake. I spent 60 grand on a business. This was a long time, it's 15 years ago. So, for 60 grand's still a lot of money now. Even 15, 16 years ago, it was really a lot of money. And I gave back the entire contract because it was unworkable. And it was just nothing. 3 months later, I'd wasted my money, completely wasted my money. And it's because I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I was growing my own business and I got excited it was for sale and they had a great looking contract, but I didn't really get under the bones of it. I didn't look at what that business was about. So in home care, you've got to ask yourself, what are you buying? So if you're buying a nursing home or a care home, you're buying an asset, you're buying a physical building. So you can walk around that building, you can see the physical state of the building. You've actually got an asset that's worth something. You can then also get an idea of the operation just by looking around it. In home care, what are you buying? There's actually nothing there. What are you buying? A couple of PCs? Bit of software that somebody rents? You're not actually buying anything. It's all goodwill. So you've got to be sure that what you're buying is going to be there when the owner leaves. Is that business completely owner operated, whereby once the owner walks out the door, that's the business gone because they were the glue that held it all together? How do you know that that's the case when in fact the owner, the salesperson, it's usually done through an agency, is telling you, oh yeah, it all works really well. Of course they do. They're an agent. They're trying to sell it. They're trying to sell and get their commission. But how do you know if you've never operated in this sector before? That's the danger. That you can go in and think, I'm going to buy this business and it makes this amount of money every year and I'm going to now get that money. You buy the business, the manager goes, the deputy who was worked for the manager, not for the business, who now actually doesn't get on with you too much. It might not be, they're just not the same anymore. You're different from them and they go off and do something else. So suddenly you've lost them. Then a couple of your key staff leave and you don't know the business well enough to actually bring new people in. You don't know how to do that yet. So you've just suddenly unraveled very quickly. On the flip side, the opposite can happen, where you buy a business and the owner has got it set up so it is completely systemized. You've bought it and actually you're not needed because it's really well run. And that's what you want. You want to buy a really well run business. And the big guys that buy, the huge nationals that will go out and buy, they will pay premium for something that runs well, because they don't want the headache of trying to sort something out. They want something that works, they can integrate, and it carries on. And that's what really most people should be looking at, unless you're a specialist in it and you can look for a failing business because you're turning it round. So there's a lot of opportunity. I'm working with a client at the moment, and that's one of the things we're discussing. He's new into the sector, and I actually suggested, well, why don't you buy a failing business? You're engaging my services anyway, so I know what to look for in a failing business. Why don't we we could find a failing business and turn it around so you're actually paying bottom dollar for the business, and then if it falls apart, no big deal. You've not really lost a great deal of money, but you can spend the money you would have spent on a top dollar business investing in it and turning it around. And then that's a good marketing tool that suddenly this business has turned around and gone better, and immediately it's actually worth more because you've gone from a failing business so that's something you can look at as well if you know what you're doing.
I think you said that systemizing, it's so important. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the things you said at the beginning of the show is when people set up a home care business, that they want freedom. And you're only going to get that freedom if the business can operate without yourself. And I always talk about it, the E-Myth. If you read the E-Myth.
The E-Myth is all my clients. I have a set reading list that my clients get on day one. The E-Myth is the number one, right? Yeah. Read that, because that gives you an idea of what systemization is about for small business. And absolutely, it's the Bible for small business. Read that, and suddenly it'll click and, oh yeah, okay, I get what I have to do now. I get what Simon's on about on this journey. You know, it's that is absolutely the number one that we say. Read that. Read the E-Myth. Michael Gerber, the E-Myth. Read it, because that's what systemization is about. When you can systemize, then your business is worth more. You can grow, and you can spend your time developing that business further, developing your staff, making sure that you're focusing on the standards, focusing on making sure that your carers are the best possible carers, so that you can deliver the best possible care to the people who are using your services. Because that's I've spent a lot of time talking about business on here, and I didn't apologize. I said that I won't apologize for that at the very beginning, but it still focuses back to the reason you're doing that is because you're changing somebody's life for the better. And you can better do that if as an owner, you'll spend your time checking that your business is working right, checking that you're delivering the best possible service, not actually doing it. You've systemized it, you get other people to do it, and you're running around checking that everybody's doing it really well. You spend all your time doing that. That's what you need to concentrate on.
We can talk about this all day, and I'm conscious of the time, but I want to ask you, you built a business to 7 branches, 600 staff, sold it. I know now you're helping businesses, but if you were to do it again, what's one thing that you would do differently now that most businesses aren't doing, or you don't see enough of?
Spend money on marketing. As simple as that. I would dump the cash into marketing. Simply because not many people are doing it. People are still relying on local authority. And when I had mine, the private market was still very small. The cutbacks, certainly with austerity and pre-austerity measures, councils were already cutting back. So since I've sold mine, more and more councils have cut back on what they spend. And therefore, the private sector has increased. So now the private sector is actually worth 30% of the market. I think when I sold it, it was probably worth 2 or 3%. Now it's 30% of the market is private payers. Yet people don't chase that private sector, because they think, oh, if I spend 5,000 on marketing, that's really expensive. Because they haven't thought that if they spend 5,000, they get the 30,000 back. So that's what I would be doing it. And in this digital world, it'd be digital marketing. There's lots of different marketing channels, and an owner of a business has to decide where their marketing budget goes. And the digital side is specialist. It's difficult. It's you've got to know what you're doing. So it is probably the most expensive marketing channel, to be honest, but it also gives the biggest return. So you spend your money on there. Whereas going to business networking, going physically out and introducing yourself to your pharmacists, introducing yourself to your GPs, introducing yourself to your mobility shops in your area, introducing yourself to your community groups, introducing yourself to the churches and to the mosques and to the synagogues, and introducing yourself to community groups or the British Legion or whatever. That is the owner going out, pounding the pavement, shaking hands with people, networking, and there's no substitute for that, and you can't pay someone else to do that. That's them going out and doing it. That's the owner or the registered manager or both, going out and doing that kind of thing, getting involved in the community, and then put all your money into the digital marketing so that you are everywhere. Because who's buying care? Yes, people do buy care for themselves, and then it's also people my age buying for my parents. Where do I go to buy anything? I Google it. First thing I do, I Google care agencies, care agencies Manchester, and then I'm.
It's serious. You're just talking about the modern age, and that's what you're talking about. The parents, the sons or daughters of the person that requires care. That's how they will search. Go on Google. The grandkids now, they will use Siri. they would say home care, you know, Siri, home care X area. Who appears?
Yes.
So it is important to future-proof the business as well.
Future-proofing the business. Sorry, go on. Future-proofing the business isn't just about marketing either. You know, we're getting to the stage now where this technology is pretty cheap. You know, why aren't agencies putting Alexa into, you know, what's an Alexa Dot? It's 30 quid or something, isn't it, for an Alexa Dot? It's not very expensive. Why aren't agencies putting the Alexa Dot into a client's house to remind them to take medication? You know, why isn't that with an API written into their care software so that the person at the care software can actually program Alexa remotely to tell people to remind them to take their meds? Or to tell them where somebody sat there and they say, Alexa, when's my carer showing up? And Alexa tells them where, not just where the carer is showing up, when the carer is due, but where they are right now and how far away they are. You know, that's cheap. That's cheap stuff. You know, this is technology that can change. And if you're not thinking about that and how to do it, then, you know, the software companies will do this for you. You know, they're going to write it, but you've got to be thinking about how to implement it now. You've got to be thinking, you know, right, okay, if you're buying care software, ask them what their plans are for assisted, you know, the specialist assisted living things. But there's also, you know, what's the other one? The Facebook have issued a tablet thing, haven't they?
The bar that sits on top of the screen. I forgot what it's called.
And they've got something that they pushed out over lockdown, didn't they, so that people could communicate with the grandparents. And I forgot what it's called.
Facebook Rooms.
Sorry?
The Facebook Rooms feature they've done?
No, it's like Alexa. It's an object. You know, it's a physical frame. It's like a picture frame kind of thing. Anyway, I've forgotten. But that's what they're doing. You know, they're all developing these kind of this consumer software and this consumer hardware is coming in that you can link into your. You need to be thinking about it now. If you're not doing it, you need to certainly be thinking about how. So that's how I would do things very different. That's taking it away from marketing, and that I would be thinking, right, how do I use tech now in my day-to-day care delivery? That's going to be the major difference.
And there's some people who probably think, listening to this now or watching it and thinking, when would I even get the time to do something like that? However, if you have processes and systems where your business is running itself, it allows you time to do R&D, research and development, to invest back into the company and do things like this. So I could talk to you all day, Simon. I'm just we can talk to you all day. You'll be back on the show. But just, do you want to tell everyone where to find you?
Yeah, if you just go to, we're at CareSkilled, that's www.careskilled, SKILLED, careskilled.co.uk. Find us there. Just go to the website, careskilled.co.uk. We're on YouTube, YouTube/C/CareSkilledCoUK, all one word. There's some free marketing videos up there if people want to have a look. I've started putting together a little bit of an overview. I've also noticed a lot of typos on some of the stuff I've done on there, but you know, so bear with it. But there's a lot of free content when I'm sticking up there at the moment. That's how they can get me.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for coming, Simon, and thank you for everyone for listening and watching. If you haven't already seen, we've got a brand new website, so there's tons of resources on that. Everything's been collated into one place. It's really easy to find, so definitely check that out. And also, we pre-record these, but I'm thinking on Friday, Toby, you'll be doing a webinar. So 1 p.m. on Friday, definitely check that out. Message us if you need the link, and we'll see you all in the next Tea with Toby.
See ya.